Thanks for joining us. I am actually Brandy Coons. I'm the curator at the Firehouse Art Center in the Longmont Creative District in Longmont, Colorado. We are doing an artist talk with our summer 2021 artist in residence, Janelle W. Anderson. She is presenting about herself and her project that she's worked on in the residency. And I do want to certainly give a shout out and a thank you to our supporters at the Firehouse. We are a tiny nonprofit and could not do what we do without the help of organizations like SCFD and the Colorado Creative Industries and all of our local Longmont and Front Range supporters. So thank you to everyone for joining us. Welcome to Janelle. We are so excited about your project and I'm excited to hear about your process. So if you wanted to get started, I do want to mention to everyone watching that if you comment on the Facebook Live video, I will ask those questions of Janelle, or we'll try and cover them at the end of her short presentation. If you're on Zoom with us, you can comment in the chat. And the same is true. We'll ask questions at the end. So thanks, everybody. And Janelle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for being here. I am going to talk today, of course, about my residency at the Firehouse Art Center this past summer. The way I'm going to start is I'm actually going to start from about 2012. I'm going to show you some images of where my work was back then, about 10 years ago, and sort of show you a progression of how my work evolved and how I got to the point where I was making paintings in a collage style, and ultimately how I got to do the residency with the Firehouse Art Center. So I have some images to share with you. Okay. All right, you guys should be able to see this. Bear with me, the first couple of images are not that great because these were from 10 years ago. So I went to school at Metro State. I got a BFA in painting from Metro State College in Denver, downtown Denver. Back then, my work was primarily drawing on Mylar. It was this layered, transparent, kind of hazy paper. And I was drawing images with graphite and ink and colored pencil on these separate layers and layering them together so that you were seeing one image through another. And so like this one here, this image is behind the top image. So it was creating this ghost-like effect that I really liked at the time. It was really reminiscent of dreams or memories. And it was sort of this collage style, but to build my works, I wasn't making digital collages at this time at all. I was making a bunch of drawings on the same size paper and then layering those to sort of see what worked or to come up with other ideas that might work. This is from a show in 2014, this drawing here. And then I started to do some more color. This is 3 layers on Mylar. This is 2014, 2015. But I was always interested in painting. I just, you know, drawing was at that time a better way for me to communicate my ideas. But I was painting a little bit. This was an acrylic painting that I did in 2014, I think. This was back to Mylar. Starting to cut the image more and see more of all the values being the same, less of that ghost image. This was another layered Mylar one where you can really see the layer right in here, the ink. And this is the last one that I'll show you of that Mylar work. This was, I want to say 2016. And then from there, I made a big jump into painting something like this. You can see this splash, organic kind of thing going on here. And I really took that over into this painting and kept with the portraiture. This one I did make a digital collage as my reference. So I used one photo of my model and I collaged this. This was made spontaneously. Like I just poured ink onto the canvas and worked with that shape, took a picture of that, put that in Photoshop, and then built this collage of his face around that, manipulated colors and everything. So that was 2015, 2016, that I started to try out that process. This piece was made that same way where I made a digital collage of photos as my source image and painted pretty much exactly what that digital collage was. Then this one is 2018. This is a landscape. I was taking that same idea, these different images, collaging them together to make this one surreal scene. This one's called Pool. And then if you stop by my studio at all this summer, you saw this piece. This piece is called Heatwave. I made this in 2018 as well. Same process as before, a digital collage. The image came out pretty close to the collage that I made. There was a little bit of back and forth where I would get to a stage in the painting and then I would take a photo of the painting, put that in Photoshop and collage on top of that and figure out some other things on top of that and then continue to work on it. And this painting I was really happy with. I remember finishing this painting and feeling like, yeah, this is really what I want my work to look like. I really want to go in this direction. And then if you saw it in the studio too, you might remember seeing some of this color go onto the sides of the painting. And I was starting to think then about maybe how paintings could bleed off of the canvas and maybe start to connect with each other instead of just be confined to their canvas. And you also saw this one. This one's called To Have and to Hold. This one I made at the beginning of 2019, had it in my studio this summer. This one is called Portal. This one's a little quieter. It's still a collage actually with, I'm gonna say 3 images used to make this collage. The wave, the beach, the doorway, which was in my old apartment building, and then the forest behind it was a separate image. So a simple collage, but still the same process. And then this piece is called Bridge. This is the last piece that I finished before I started my residency. And I went back to this splash idea here that I'm interested now. I think I'm gonna do a little more of it. I like the organic element there. So I did the splash and then layered in the other elements digitally on top of that before painting them. And that brings us to the work that I made for the residency all together now, which, as most of you know, all of the images in these paintings are from photos that other people submitted to me. So I put out a call to the general public. It was supposed to be to Colorado residents to submit your photos of a variety of criteria that I announced every couple of weeks over the duration of about 3 months. So my first call in early April was for images of people. And it was just send me, candid photos of family, friends, family gatherings, birthday parties, holidays. Really just, I was trying to gather all images of people that I could to start to build these collages. And then I collected images of animals, landscapes, natural disasters, all kinds of things. And I started the residency, I started working at the Firehouse in early June and was still collecting photos through the end of June. So I started a few paintings before I received all the photos. And this big section is one that was started on the first day of my residency. As soon as I had these pink clouds come in through my email, I knew that I really wanted to paint these really large. And I knew that was going to be like one of the main images on this large wall. And then somebody had sent me a photo of the pelicans, and that ended up working really nicely together. And it didn't really need to have a whole bunch of other things layered in. I knew that, it's a big space and there's a lot of space to fill, and other paintings could be busier, but this section here was going to be pink clouds and pelicans, and that kind of made this statement of all together now already by itself. Also, on one of the first days of my residency, as I was driving down Main, I saw this great sign that you guys have in Longmont on, what is it, 3rd and Main or something, and the people. And it's such a great statement. I love this sign. I love that you have it. And I hope you guys love it too. I wanted to include it here, especially for Longmont, showing that this is your place. I also really like the idea of this whole section being very tall and going very low. And so the perspective here is that you look up at the sign and you look down below at the duck and the goose. And so hopefully you can kind of get that. You're looking up and then you're looking all the way down. And then this is kind of eye level. Hopefully you get that when you see the work in person. This is just a detail showing one of the panels at the end. This is, so you can see how, kind of in this other picture here, how I took the color onto the wall here. And it matches up with the image, but it doesn't match up with the actual support. So if you take just this one piece, you've got a sliver of that image here. And I really liked that idea of connecting these paintings through. Like, you could separate each individual painting out, but they really connect to each other. And there kind of is no beginning and there is no end. So this is 1, 2, 3 separate images. And it all ended up pretty abstract, but it reads kind of as one landscape with one horizon line. So I wanted to show you guys some of my process of what it looked like when I was doing the digital collages. This is my digital collage. I made this file that was to scale of the gallery. So I knew like this section was going to be in that position on that wall. And this is how I was piecing everything together. I had all of these images that I wanted to use. It was very important to me to use at least one image from every single person who submitted, because to me it was like a community collaboration, and it was inclusive. The whole idea of all together now is inclusive. And so it didn't make sense just to like exclude anybody for whatever reason. So if somebody submitted one image to me, I used that one image. And if somebody submitted 20 images to me, then maybe I only used a couple images. But these were to start and to make sure that I used everything. I placed everyone's images out on this file, and it was kind of crazy. This is the actual install shot of this section. So you can see, this is my thought. I thought these were actually going to connect. And then in real life, they don't. I thought it was better because these colors are actually not the same. And so I wanted to give a little space there. But it came out pretty close to how the plan was. This is a collage of the car piece. And this is the final painting. So you can see that I tend to stay pretty loyal to the image and don't change a whole lot from the collage. I did want to take the colors that were in here through the figures. But other than that, pretty much stayed the same. So this is another in real life install shot of what it looks like now. Showing the corner. This whole wall, this south wall, I didn't really plan any of it, or what it ended up being in real life did not match the plan that I had for it at all. So this was a bit spontaneous. I wanted to create some repetition here by mimicking this shape. I knew I wanted to extend the clouds for sure. And then this wall, I kind of, I wasn't sure what I was doing on this wall. And so made a call to do that. And I think it came out pretty cool. It's a very bright pink if you see it in person. Here's a shot of just that wall. Here's showing my plan for this wall. I had a lot of different plans for this wall. So it was supposed to be this over here is the south wall. And none of these paintings ended up being realized at all. But you can see all these different images that I played around with, connecting from that right here is this. And so I was thinking about connecting a long piece there with a different collage. A lot of different things. I was thinking about the shipping container being over here. That ended up being at the beginning. The tree ended up being at the beginning. So a lot of ideas went round and round and round throughout this entire process. Is basically what I'm trying to show. Here is a shot of a piece that I call the encounter. And this was two separate people's images that they sent me. One of I think it was actually landscape that this image was a part of. And this little girl who's probably 4 years old, she took it herself of her feet at a riverbed. And I just thought that I should include her perspective since most of the photos I received were from adults. It would be really interesting to include her perspective in this. And then somebody sent me an image of a snake, and the perspective just really worked out for them to be paired together. So this was one of the first pieces I completed, and many of you saw it in my studio this summer as well. This one's called The Watchers. This one came together in August. And it's 3 images. There was an image of a dog sitting on this beautiful blue chair that I knew I wanted to use, but I didn't quite figure out how. This is someone's cat, and then an owl that were both submitted under animals. And some of the pet pictures were really hard to use because I didn't want the whole show to be pet portraits. And so I had to play around quite a bit with how to pair the images together so that it didn't read that way. But I think there's some mystery in this one, this like gang of animals, I don't know, kind of looking out. This one's called Cactus Flower. I played around with a lot of these images separately too. But I really like the arrangement of the dog sleeping and these flowers and how that made this reference to life and death. This one's called Float On. It's kind of separate from the pack. All over here. I like the idea of these some of the images being away from everything, but they're either moving towards something or they're a part of the bigger whole in some way, but they're almost a quiet moment in that busyness. And this one here is called By the Light of the Moon. I'm really happy with this one, but I want to work on it a little more. There originally in this image, this is a little girl's hand. And she has a face and whole body, and it would be nice to paint that in too. So maybe later that will come. Okay, so this is what wall is this? The west wall. And since this is an installation, I thought it was important to include these install shots for you guys so you see this is how you experience the work. You're seeing this, but you can see kind of what's coming too. But I'll talk about this section first. This one, a lot of you guys got to see in process as well. I probably started this one in early July, maybe late June. Started with this sketch with these 4 images. So it was the bears, this image of a car accident, and then 2 images. Oh, I guess this is another image too. These 2 images that are almost exactly alike, but they're different. And then this image of a river. So when I started this, this is how many of you saw the painting, but I knew I was going to layer more into it. I just needed to start the painting with those elements first. And then the painting is titled Send a Chat. So I knew I wanted this element in there. It was attached to a photo of this figure. And I just split them a little bit to to make the composition work and to make that fall on both of the canvases. This is the biggest piece in the show, the biggest single piece in the show. It's 48 by 36. It's on two 24 by 36 panels. And then go back to the install shot here real quick. So these sheep are up in the upper left, and then this little abandoned snow hut is down at the bottom. So here's some detail shots of those. The sheep, I just thought this was an adorable image of these sheep who are obviously great friends and keep each other warm in the winter. These sheep actually live in New York, upstate New York. And the call for photos was to Colorado residents, but I started to receive some from people who were outside of Colorado, and I just couldn't deny anybody because that didn't really make sense for the concept of the project. So I included everyone, whether they came from New York or Colorado or overseas or whatever. And so I went to start to paint this image just on a 12 by 12. I thought a square would be great for that. And then like at the last minute, I thought, oh, it would be really interesting to split them. And so they're painted on two 6 by 12 inch supports so that they go together as one piece, but they're actually separate. And this is called Together Apart. And it just kind of made me think of the nature of relationships, friendships, any kind of relationship, really, I guess. You're together and you do a lot of things together and you support each other, but you're separate entities. And there's a little bit of loneliness in that. This little image is a little lonely, abandoned hut. And I placed it below this piece to balance out the sheep up here. Thought it was nice to have these two kind of quiet, lonely things balancing out this very, very chaotic kind of darker piece. Okay, and then as you saw in the install shot, there's this sort of alcove in the gallery. And I had planned almost from the beginning to make this a cave and to place this painting here with a cave inside that. And then the idea for this painting is called Lighthouse, came a little bit later. But I really love, this is probably my favorite part of the whole installation. I really love the mystery of this here. They're pretty simple images, but this is like a meditative point in the installation where I think you can really spend some time looking at it and perhaps lose yourself in these paintings. So on the edge of the alcove here, this is painted dark blue. We have this little moose sleeping out. And that's what the front looks like. And I planned that pretty early on as well. Just really like this idea. I originally wanted to extend these lines all the way into the wall. But the dark on dark didn't quite work out. But I still really love this idea, this kind of like this lonely moose, like jumping from a dark abyss into a light abyss. And it's a very confident jump. And the moose doesn't care, not worried at all. This is a process shot of the bears and the cave. This here, this background image here, was me trying to figure out what to paint on the wall behind that. I thought about taking this interior structure and painting like this window up there. I like that idea. It didn't end up working out in real life, but that idea is interesting. Maybe for the next one. And at one point I had all these images, all these dark images in the dark cave, and decided to just empty it out and have this be a really a quiet area. And this is where the moose starts jumping out of the dark part. This is the Photoshop sketch. What I wanted this wall to be, and then this is the north wall here, kind of what I was thinking. Had this dog in the blue chair there at one point, but I kind of knew from the beginning it wasn't going to work there. Just took me a while to figure out what to do with that one. This is the real install shot of this corner. So the moose is over here. And the moose sort of jumps into these like green lines. It's supposed to be maybe like a lush environment for maybe a place that the moose could actually live in. And then this little mushroom lives there. And I loved the idea of this mushroom dripping off the canvas all the way down to the floor. So yeah, I love that idea. I think it would be really fun to do like a puddle on the floor too, or like something extending on the ceiling. I think the wall paint in this installation could be pushed so much further. That's definitely something that I want to explore more. This is an install shot, and I'm sorry, this image looks blurry. But this is an install shot of the north wall. This is essentially the end of the installation. So that wall color kind of ties in here, and then we have it's smoke kind of billowing over a valley, and then a party. I'm sure this image was taken maybe at Pride one year or something. I'm not sure exactly when, but it's these people partying, cheering on a drag queen here. There's somebody in the foreground holding something. And then this is a separate image. Let's see, in the process shot, you guys can probably see a separate image of people, another candid shot, just completely separate from somebody entirely different. And then last, have this little rabbit. That piece there is called Follow the Rabbit. Just a nice way to end, I think, while alluding to the fact that it doesn't end. Like the story still carries on. And ultimately, I would have wanted to connect this to something at the beginning. Let's see if I can pull the shot back up. Something over here. Would have been nice to take that green or something and put it over here to really give you the idea that there was no beginning and no end. So yeah, that is the installation. I hope that if you haven't seen it in person, that you get a chance. The show will be up until October 3rd at the Firehouse Art Center. And yeah, I want to thank everyone who submitted images to this project. I hope that you like what I painted. And a huge thank you to everyone at the Firehouse Art Center, Brandy, Elaine, Grace. You guys supported me so much, and it was such a great place to be for 3 months. Everyone who came into my studio to see me working, to have conversations with me about this work or just life in general. It was great. It was an awesome experience, and I had never had that before. This was my first residency, and I would love to do something like this again. So thank you so much.
Yay. Thank you, Janelle. That was awesome. I think we have to, if you'll stop screen sharing, we can go back to kind of chatting with everybody, unless you want to, or keep it in case we want to reference particular pictures.
Okay, yeah.
What do you want to do?
Well, I'll keep it up. That's fine.
Okay. So I definitely wanted to thank you for how you approach this process with this impressively ambitious goal in mind of creating so many paintings and tying them together in these creative, unique ways, between collaging them, kind of working in smaller pieces and then working with colors directly on the wall. And I really appreciate that in your talk, you talked about how that plan evolved and changed as you were working on it, because I think that's the greatest strength for us. We like, providing a space for artists to experiment and, do exciting things. But I think making that process really transparent to the public is invaluable. And I appreciate your honesty about it. That's so cool.
Yeah, of course.
And we just loved watching it grow and evolve. And so thank you. And we have a question from Noah in the chat. And he writes that the together apart piece with the sheep that you were talking about points to the nature of relationships, and then asks if you see the extended body of work, like all of the paintings, also speaking to the nature of relationships generally.
Noah and I got to talk a lot throughout this process, and it was awesome. Hi, Noah, and thank you for being here and for your question. I do think that relationships, the theme of relationships, shows up in other areas through the work, a lot in something like this, parts where something is disconnected from the group. Let's see, at the beginning here, you have this collection of things, and then you have these things that are separated. I think all of that alludes to sort of our relationships of working together, but being separate, being individuals. And, we're all kind of just trying to figure out how we can all live in this place together. And, we all make it up as we go. That's what our whole society is. And I think that that point is throughout the work and is throughout, the title All Together Now, alluding to this kind of cluster of us figuring it out and bumbling all along the way, together, but as individuals as well. Another thing is, I think that the whole work, all of the pieces in this installation are you could say that they're all just about life and death. And relationships is certainly a part of life. But I think you could also even just boil this down to like every single image alludes life and death in a way. So I hope that kind of answered your question.
And I did want to mention again, if anybody else joining us has questions, we're here for a few more minutes. Please feel free to use the chat or the comment section on the Facebook live stream, because I'm kind of keeping an eye on those. I have a question. When you are trying to work out how the pieces are going to kind of blend together, do you think you could break that down into like a typical, what percentage of it is really kind of a creative intuition based on color, composition, and what part of it really feels like a response to the narrative in the original image?
I think in the process of collaging these images, it really boils down to like a certain balance of form for it to be a good painting for me. And so like in something in like these images here, this one I played around with for a while. This, and this all developed pretty late in August. All of these started in August. And we hung this installation at the end of August. And so it was late in the game to be developing these. And for me to be like, okay, this is what I want to paint. It's this certain balance of color and form, I think. And then the narrative from the symbols, from the symbolism in the images comes up later. And it can be a variety of things. I mean, this piece specifically is called Cactus Flower, but this one is strongly about life and death. And this one, yeah, it's more about the form. But then later I realized that all of these images were very symbolic and very powerful together.
Can you tell us? I think you were telling me in person when we were looking at it what each image was of. Do you want to tell us?
Yeah. So, well, this dog is sleeping, but I'm pretty sure this dog has passed away. This was Grace's dog, or Grace's family's dog. I don't know if she's here, but the image of this dog, just the way it was lying, it was very peaceful, but it's alluded to death to me. And then the flowers, of course, alluded to life. And then this image here, this is an image of my family, actually. My mom submitted this, and it is her with her mom and dad and some relatives visiting from Holland. And my dad is in the image. And my mom's mom, my Oma, she was put in hospice a couple months ago, and she just passed away earlier this week. And so when I started this painting, I knew that my Oma was close to death. But when my mom submitted the image to me, she wasn't in hospice at all. So it was kind of the symbolism in that image came about throughout the summer. And nobody would ever read that symbolism without knowing the story behind it, because it's so specific to me, and I didn't even paint the figures in very much detail at all. So that's like a secret symbolism that's unique to me. I'm not sure what other people might see in the family photo. And then the horse, to me, just kind of looking back, the horse in this green pasture, it's pretty idyllic. So yeah, just the way the arrangement of these elements came together was very strongly life and death for me. And yeah, and then became a little sadder in the last couple of weeks. And as we were hanging the show, we knew that my Oma was going to pass away soon. So the painting was kind of freaking me out a little bit, but I think it's good. It's sort of a cathartic painting, I guess, in that sense.
Do you have a favorite piece or aspect of the show that you feel like I know you talked about the cave as your favorite, or is there a part of it that I think
I
that
love
you weren't
cave.
planning, that you like ended up surprising you how much you liked it? Was there some part of it that you weren't expecting?
I really, really like this piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't expecting that. I want to work on this piece more. I want to work on a lot of these pieces more. But this piece came out as a surprise to me that I liked it so much. I really like the way the dark sky works with this family of elk. This piece, the symbolism in this piece reads really strongly about immigration to me. And that comes through after arranging the elements. And so I'll think about these different elements during making the collage, but ultimately I liked the way the forms were fitting together and the balance of color. But yeah, I think I definitely see something more in that piece. And I really like this one, this little floaty. Like, to me, this could be, if I had planned this a little better on this whole wall, I could have done a large blue section around it, and it could be in the middle of an ocean, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I really like that. Or I thought about putting it in the cave, and so that it would be paired with, it would be like somewhere down here. But then ultimately I thought that would take away from the power of these two. So I decided not to. But yeah, that was surprising. The floaty, I knew I wanted to do it, but then it was one of the last paintings I finished, and I didn't know if I was going to complete it. So that was a nice surprise. I like that. And then I also really like, I don't necessarily love how it is installed right now, but I do really like the drip all the way to the floor from that mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's cool.
Well, thank you. We had a comment from someone in our Zoom, Gregory. He says, thanks for getting this awesome workout. I appreciate the efforts of the artist and the gallery. So we appreciate hearing that. Thank you.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for
Greg.
watching.
Yeah.
I went to school with Greg. Greg
Oh,
has a
cool.
gallery as well. Yeah. He is a very talented artist.
Yeah, we are so excited to host this body of work and to see kind of the ways that you're experimenting and have seen it all come together. I think it looks fantastic, and I would encourage anybody who can to come and see it in person. The exhibit is open until October 3rd. I know that our regular gallery hours are noon to 5 on Saturdays and Sundays, but you can write ahead and make an appointment for Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday afternoons if you are interested in coming to see. Oh, we have a question. Is Janelle still planning to create an exhibit catalog, and where can we buy it?
Great question. So I did not sell enough in the pre-sale to print a run of the catalogs, but there will be a digital catalog. So anyone who purchased a catalog has been refunded. I wanted to give free catalogs to everyone who submitted images. And unfortunately, I just won't be able to print the catalogs, but I am making a digital catalog that will be a free download. So if you want one, you should email me. And my email is Janelle, Janelle W Anderson, Anderson @gmail.com. And if you also want to subscribe to my email list, I will be doing an email blast and having everyone just respond to that and let me know if you want one. So that's another way that you could ensure that you get one. Once that happens too, I'll probably post something on Instagram or Facebook saying, hey, this thing is available. I'll probably post something on my website saying, hey, this thing is available. So at that point, all you'll have to do is just reach out to me when you see that, and I'll send you a link. It'll be free, and it'll be something that will be always available. So if you miss for a couple weeks, it's not like you completely miss out on it.
I think I do have to plug too that all of the works are for sale in the show individually. So you could piecemeal parts of Janelle's compositional work and create your own, collage at home of a few pieces. I find that so fascinating as an installation, part of the installation plan as well. And those sales directly benefit the artist and
Yes. And they also benefit the Firehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a win-win. And yeah, I love that idea too, that you could take a piece of this thing that's a bigger whole, and you could also piece together something new. I love that idea, and I am definitely going to continue exploring that idea. So yeah, I hope you guys stay tuned. So like in this big section, each individual panel is for sale, and you could buy these 3, whatever you wanted. You could buy and the people and pair it with this little guy. I don't know. You can make your own adventure. So yeah, I think that's a fun aspect of the work.
Well, thank you again. We will definitely keep up with all of your future adventures.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Brandy. You're awesome. And yeah, thanks again for all your support throughout this summer.
It's been a joy. Well, and thanks to everyone who joined us this evening. We are recording, and so this will be on the Firehouse YouTube channel eventually. I can't make any promises about exactly when, but hopefully very soon. Yeah, everybody has a wonderful Thursday night and comes to see this in person and joins Janelle's mailing list. So yeah, final words? Any final words?
Just thank you all. I hope you I hope you continue to follow my work. I'm going to attempt something like this again. It probably won't be show ready for at least 2 years. Now that I know how much work this idea was too ambitious for 3 months. I think that
Oh,
it deserves.
it was just ambitious enough. Because
Yeah,
if you didn't try to shoot too far, you would never have learned where your actual adjustments needed to be made. So I
it's
feel like,
true.
yeah, this
Yeah,
is
it's
good.
so true. So, but yeah, I am continuing this idea further, and I do plan to show something in this vein again. So I hope you follow that and come to see that when it's ready. And I just want to thank you all so much for your support. And I hope you have a great night.
That's it.
Bye.